is like you, Lord. Jesus, Jesus, what a powerful name. And who is like you, Lord, in all the earth? Much less love and beauty and less worth. 'Cause nothing in this world can satisfy. Jesus, you're the cup that won't run dry. And your presence is heaven to me. Your presence is heaven to me. Treasure of my heart and of my soul. In my weakness you are merciful. Redeemer of my past and present wrongs, the holder of my future days to come. You are the holder, Lord, holder of my future days to come. Yes, Lord, your presence is heaven to me. Nothing like your presence. Your presence is heaven to me. Yeah. Your presence is heaven to me. Your presence is heaven to me, to me, to me. Oh, to me, to me, to me. So we're singing, oh, Jesus, oh, Jesus. Your presence is heaven to me. Oh, Jesus. Oh, Jesus. Your presence is heaven to me. Oh, Jesus. Oh, Jesus. Your presence is heaven to me. Oh, Jesus. Oh, Jesus. Your presence is heaven to me. And your presence is heaven to me. All my days on earth I will await the moment that I see you face to face. And nothing in this world can satisfy. Jesus, you're the cup that won't run dry. Oh, yes, Lord. Your presence is heaven to me. Oh God, your presence is heaven to me. We want to know you. We want to see you. We want to hear you, God. And I want to know you. 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 And I want to see you. Jesus, I want to see you. I want to see you. I want to see you. I want to hear 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 you. Your name, your name, your name. It saves, it saves, it saves. Your grace, your power, your love is enough to save me. Your name, your name, your name, your name, your name. It saves, it saves, it saves. Your grace, your power, your love is enough to save me. I want to know you. 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 I want to see you. I want to see you, to see your glory. I want to see you, to see your wonder. I want to see you, and I want to see you. Your name, your name, your name. It saves, it saves, it saves. Lord, your grace, your power, your love is enough to save me. Your name, your name, your name, your name. It saves, it saves, it saves. Your grace and your power, your love is enough to save me. With all my heart, with all my strength, with all my praise, I want to know you. With all my heart, with all my strength, with all my soul, I want to know you. I want to know you.
Hi, my name is Ashley Mutiso, and I am a new member of ICC, probably like 6 months old, and this is my story. My story is a journey of faith. It's a story of trust in God, even when circumstances don't look like they are working out, and it's a story of how God can use your dreams and your visions to bring glory and honor to His name. About probably 6-7 years ago, I wanted to study my master's. I wanted to go and do my master's. I had just finished my undergrad here, and I was just about to finish my undergrad actually, and I was starting to look at my options for doing my master's abroad. So I started, when I was just starting my 4th year I was at Strathmore University, I decided to start applying for universities. And I started with the Duke University because it was one of my dream schools. But midway during the application process, I realized that they needed an application fee for me to continue with the application, and I didn't have that money. So I got discouraged and I gave up. I said, okay, I don't think I am going to do this anymore. So I left the application midway. And that was probably in October or September of 2013. And towards the end of the year, I remember getting an email from my dream university, one of my dream universities, because I had a whole list. And because I didn't have the money to apply to Duke, I didn't think I needed to apply to Fordham, because I thought, okay, I don't have the money, I don't have the capacity, so let me just leave it at that. And so a friend of mine decided to got surprisingly the same email, and he forwarded it to me and he said, I think you should apply for this. And I was like, I'm not sure, but then I said, you know what, let me just try, you never know what will happen. So basically what was happening that year is that Fordham had a business challenge that I had done the previous year, but I couldn't proceed with the application because I was not in my final year of my undergrad. So at this time, since I was heading towards my final semester of my undergrad, I decided, let me take part in the business challenge again. And from the business challenge, they allowed me to apply for the course that I wanted to do for free. So I was not going to be charged to apply for the course. And so I decided to do that, but that was just the beginning of the journey. The journey required me to do a lot of things, like do my GMAT exams, which also required money, do a lot of applications, send my current transcripts from Kenya to an institution called it's a worldwide education service, just for them to be able to transfer my transcripts from the Kenyan system to the American system. And then I had to start the application process, which was, I think, the most grueling part of the application process. And during the application process, I actually saw how God uses people to help you move on to the next level of your life. And I remember reaching out to 3 specific people: my professor, who was my communications professor, and 2 friends of mine, who one had done her MBA, the other one was doing his undergrad in the US then. And they helped me apply for the program. It took me about 2 months to do a concrete application process. And I know for some people, they're like, why would it take you 2 months? I think the process was, it's because I had to go back and forth with the people who are helping me. And I felt like I was working with perfectionists, and so they could not let me just send just any type of application. They needed it to be absolutely perfect for me to be accepted. And that also taught me a lesson. You know, God also demands a lot of excellence from us, and sometimes we don't apply excellence because we are thinking, oh, it should work for me. Probably I'm a Christian, I've prayed, but you're not putting in your part to be excellent in whatever you do. And I think that was one of the lessons I learned from that particular phase. So going into the application process, because I was going to go to 3 different schools for one master's degree, I got finally accepted in July of 2014. But now when I got accepted in July, I did not have school fees. So I tried everything. I reached out to financial aid, I reached out to main institutions, I reached out to even individuals, you know, just trying to figure out how do I get financing for this program that is so important to me, but at the same time is so costly. And I'm not seeing how this can be financed. And I looked for financing everywhere I could. I knocked on every door that I could, and I could not get financing. So at one point, I decided to give up. I decided to say, you know, if it's truly God's will, then clearly, I'm not sure that this at this time is God's will. So I just left it at that. But I remember telling my programs manager, I would really love for it to be, for my admission to be postponed to the following year. It would give me a year to think about things, to look for funding, to see how things would work at the end of the day. And so that's what I took a break. I said, okay, it feels horrible that I can't do it right now, but I'm going to take a break and see what I can do. So fast forward, I took 1 year, and fast forward, I think it was about June of 2015, I was going to work one morning and I got stuck in traffic. So what happened is that there was a bus that had fallen across the road, and so no car could move for about 3 hours. And you can imagine being stuck in traffic for 3 hours, how it can be so, like early in the morning, you've woken up so fresh, and then you get stuck in traffic for 3 hours in the heat, in the noise. And by the time I was getting to work, I was late, first of all, but second of all, I was absolutely tired because of, just Nairobi traffic at the end of the day. And I got to work, I was so tired, I said to myself, let me take about 30 minutes to just recover, drink water, get a cup of coffee, recover, and then start my day officially. And as I was sitting on my desk, taking a cup of water, something told me to write an email to my programs manager. And I remember writing to her and saying, hey, Kathy, I'm still interested in the program, so I would really love to know if my space is available. And don't worry about the money because my father is going to take care of it. So what she didn't know at that moment is that when I was talking about my father, I was not talking about my earthly father, whom I love very much, but I was talking about my heavenly father then, because I knew my dad couldn't afford it then. But then I knew that I had a father in heaven who could do something miraculous. And so I sent the email. Of course, now you can't start explaining to people, oh, I mean my father in heaven, not my father on earth. And I started explaining. I didn't want to explain all that, but I just said my father will sort the school fees out, so don't worry about it. And she answered the email within 30 minutes, and she said, there's a student from South Africa who has declined the scholarship we wanted to give them. Are you interested in a 10,000 euro scholarship? I was like, what? I was so shocked. When I said my father in heaven is going to sort my school fees out, I did not expect it to happen in that way. And I remember calling my dad, and I said, Dad, I just received a 10,000 euro scholarship. And my dad was like, is that a fake thing or is it real? Are you sure? And I said, let me forward the email to you so that you can see it yourself. And I called my mother and I said, I received a 10,000 euro scholarship. And from then, I think I was just completely shocked, but I was also overjoyed. But then even in the midst of that joy, I was now worried because I needed to raise the rest of the amount to be able to cover my costs and everything. And at that moment, I decided to trust God. But I remember I used to go to the washroom every day at work. I'd leave my desk, go to the washroom and pray and tell God, please, I'm begging you, just make a way and give me the rest of the money. You've already made a way for this scholarship. Surely you can make a way for the rest. You can't just give me this scholarship and leave me hanging. And I would pray every single day. And I think I prayed until a point where I could not pray anymore. I felt like, okay, God, I know you can't leave me, but I'm just not understanding what's happening right now. And so I decided to stop praying. Not stop praying as much, but just I felt like I was, as a Christian, you have to have honest conversations with yourself and honest conversations with God. And I was like, God, I feel like I'm bombarding you with these things, with this particular request. And I don't know if you're listening to me or you're answering me, but I know you are because you've already answered this one part of my prayer. And so at one point I said, you know what? God, this is in your hands. You do what you do best. And they had given me a deadline to at least pay the rest of a certain amount of the rest of the fee that I needed to raise. And those days kept on going by so fast. You know, you're seeing the days going by so fast, and you're asking yourself, how is it that the days are going by so fast and I'm not getting to raise this money that I need to raise? And one day, a miracle happened, a clear miracle. Something just happened. You know, those things, my parents are business people, and sometimes business is just very good highs, and sometimes business is, there's such lows. And at that moment, I remember my parents were, business was not good, to be honest, at that moment. But one day, a miracle just happened, and suddenly there was a high in business. Like, it was a high, and my father said, you know what, we actually now do have the rest of the funds to have you pay the rest of the school fees and just do whatever you want. And I think the way that money came about was just a miracle of God. It was a miracle of God. There was no other explanation about how the money came about how my father got to get a deal that just worked out, that even he had given up on. And God was just completely faithful in that moment to just bring in this money. And I was able to pay the rest of the school fees and sort out other issues, such as, you know, upkeep. And I remember that was not even just, that was now the beginning of the journey of what was supposed to happen then. Getting into this particular course for me was very, it was monumental for me. One, because I saw God's favor in it, and two, because I was the only Kenyan in that class at that moment out of 20 students from across the world. And it was just like God showing me that he has, you know, when Jeremiah 29:11 says, I have good plans for you, like, for me that was just completely right. But when I got, when I moved out of the country now, I remember when my friends used to move out of the country before me, I used to tell them one thing: please look for a church where you can be able to grow and find community. Because when you're away from home, you're away from family, you're away from your friends, starting over in a new place, you need a community. You need people who are able to hold you at the end of the day. And for me, one of the things I found was a community, was a church community. I started attending Antwerp Christian Fellowship in Belgium. And when I went to that church, I remember, first of all, everyone was so nice to me. I met really nice people from across the world. But I joined a Bible study group, which was very key for me. So I would go for Bible study every Tuesday at night. But some of the things that I can highlight from my experience from a God perspective was that I remember telling God before I left, there are things that I really need you to do for me. I need you to give me favor with people. I need you to surround me with people who are amazing, who will help me walk this journey. Even as I walk the journey of school, I can be able to walk this other journey of being a Christian as well. And that's what God actually did. I have friends who went to schools abroad and they had a hard time. They did not have Christian friends or people who understood where they came from religiously. They did not have time to go to church because probably you want to go to church on a Sunday, and that's when everyone's putting probably a group study, and you have to be part of it because of your grades. But one thing that God really did for me that I'm still grateful till today is that he gave me classmates who were not Christians. We were only 2 Christians in the entire class, but there are people who really respected my faith and looked out for me in terms of my Christian faith. And so they made it very easy for me to do the things that I did. If it was about putting group studies, they would not do it during my time in church. They would do it after I'd leave church. And those are just some of the small favors that God gave me. But also with my Bible study group, I remember one particular instance. When I moved, I started getting anxiety attacks. I could not sleep. I'd get into bed at 10, switch off my phone, switch off everything, the lights, everything, and then I would find myself sleeping at 2 a.m. just because of anxiety attacks. And at one point it had become so bad I thought I was going crazy. And at that moment, I think I'd started having like bouts of confusion at one point. Because I remember one day I was going for Bible study, and that day our normal hosts were not in the country, so somebody else decided to host us, but she lived far from where I lived. And so we had to meet somewhere and go together to her place. And I remember leaving the house, and it was just the onset of winter, and I hadn't realized that I hadn't worn properly. Like I hadn't worn winter boots. I just left with normal shoes, and I'm walking 5 minutes out of the building. I realized that I'm wearing the wrong shoes, and I'm like, why are my feet feeling so cold? And I got to the station, and everyone's looking at me like, are you sure you're not cold? Like, you're not wearing a winter jacket, you're not wearing winter boots. I had winter boots, I didn't have a winter jacket. And I remember saying, oh, I'm going to get a winter jacket soon. And some lady said, don't worry, I work in a store where they sell really good winter jackets. I'll bring you one next week. And I remember when we went for that Bible study, specifically that day after the Bible study, everyone had prayer requests. And that time, I'm feeling something saying, just tell them why you're here, why you need to be prayed for. But there were people who had such strong prayer requests, and I kept saying to myself, I don't think that my prayer request holds water like theirs does. You know, like one of them was talking about her nephew who was a missionary in Turkey, in a Muslim region, and she was like, please pray for my nephew and his wife to be safe as they minister the gospel. And I kept asking myself, but God, these people have way better requests than mine, but something kept on pushing me. And I believe that's probably the Holy Spirit just pushing me, saying, just mention what is really going on. And so I said, guys, I've not slept for the past probably 1 month or 3 weeks. I have bad anxiety attacks. I am unable to concentrate. I don't think the quality of my life is as it should be. And I remember that time, all these people, they stood up and they laid their hands on me, and they prayed for me. And the thing that makes me remember that till date is that when we left that place and we got onto a tram on our way to our different places, I felt a peace that I'd never felt before. I felt a calmness that I'd not felt in a long time. You know, when you have anxiety attacks, you have constant, your heart rate is like on maximum. You feel like you just have this unsettling feeling in the pit of your stomach. You feel like you can't concentrate on things. And that day I went home and I slept like a baby. I slept so well, I could not believe it. I could not believe it. And it was just that act of prayer. I think also, you know, one of the things that I learned recently is that when we are unable to let people pray for us, when we are unable to share what we are going through, sometimes it's actually a sign of pride. And it's you saying, okay, I also don't want people to see me in a certain light. I don't want people to think that I'm going crazy or something. But that moment when you let your guard down and you let your pride down, God just works in ways that you don't understand. And also just understood the importance of community, the importance of having people who are Christians walk with you and pray with you. You know, they say that the prayer of the righteous availeth much. And that moment I understood even the verse that says, where 2 or 3 are gathered in his name, you know. And for me, I was just completely thank God for the power of community at that very moment. But there are just very small instances. Like when I got the coat, I remember asking the lady. Now the following Tuesday, I said, how much do I owe you? And she said a statement I'd never forgotten. She's an old lady called Christine, and she said, Ashley, do not worry about it. It's been paid for. And when she said that, you know, it's you hear those words when people are referring to Jesus' death on the cross, and I was like, I think that was something that I had never, I did not expect. You know, when you leave the country, a lot of people will tell you things like, oh, don't worry about, white people are very individualistic. They don't care about people. They care about themselves. It's about you, it's you for yourself and no one else. But at that moment, I realized that notion that people have is taken away by the blood of Jesus Christ. It's taken away by being convicted by Christ. And there's a certain thing that Christ does in your life just to be able to use you to bless others. But aside from that, I was also able to just witness the glory of God and understand the privileges that we have even as Christians here. And I remember a specific moment where we were having a baptism session in church, and this guys, the way they used to conduct their baptism session is that people would give testimonies first before they would get baptized. And I was seated next to a girl who was a Kenyan as well. And we watched these people getting baptized and giving their testimonies. Some of them were former atheists, former Muslims, people who could not confess of their Christianity back at home, people who said that if they went home and confessed that they had been saved and they had been baptized, they would be killed by even their own relatives. And I remember my friend sitting next to me saying, my goodness, we really do take a lot for granted as Christians from a country like Kenya, where we have the freedom of worship. And here people want to live in this particular country because they can finally worship Christ in peace. They can worship Christ without fear of death, without fear of being killed by even their own relatives. And I think that just also shook up my faith, and I said, it is true, we do take a lot for granted because we have been born in a Christian nation. We have been raised in families that are Christian, and then we hear of persecution out there and we are like, what is that about? You know, we hear of people like, one of my friends talked about how she spent 2 months in jail for having a Bible study in a restaurant. And there are things we take for granted that I learned that we, as much as we come from places where God has given us the grace to be able to conduct our religious affairs in open and in peace, we also have a duty to pray for those people who live in such societies where they really have a passion for Christ, but the society will not let them do things for Christ in the open. But then at the end of the day, I think the most important thing I learned from my journey was the aspect of faith. I had a conversation with my small brother yesterday, and I was telling him from a career perspective that one of the most important traits that you would have when you're looking for a career is operating in ambiguity. And I told him, for us as Christians, operating in ambiguity is operating in faith without knowing what is going to happen in the future, but trusting that there's a God who's working in the background for you. And that is one of the lessons that I learned for sure. Sometimes God just wants us to step out in faith to do things that are great. And sometimes we limit our dreams, we limit our ambitions, we limit our potential by just fearing, by being human beings who say, oh, but I am a realist. I look at things as they are. If the glass is half full, it is just there. It's half full. I don't have the capacity to think that at one point somebody could bring a jar of water and fill that glass till the top. And that's one of the things that I keep telling people. When you're focusing on your God-given dreams and you're focusing on your potential, you have to step out in faith and trust that God can do the impossible. He's a God who actually operates in the impossible. And somebody once said that the law of vision, having a vision, having a dream, is the vision is the atmosphere in which God operates best at in. And that is a word that stuck with me, because it really reminds me, even up to date, that there are things that I obviously want to achieve, but I look at the circumstances around me and I say, but I don't have the resources, I don't have the finances, I don't have the people surrounding me to do this. I don't know if I even have favor with people to do this. But we forget that it's God who orchestrates everything that happens in our lives, and God at the end of the day honors faith. And for people who want to take journeys, it doesn't matter whether it's something like me, something like what I did, like going out there to do my master's without even knowing where finances will come from. It could be just starting a business, it could be doing a project, it could be even stepping out in faith and doing exploits that you thought were impossible. It's about you putting yourself out there and putting your trust in God, and trusting that the God of the impossible is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that you can ever think of or imagine, and that He's a God whose power cannot be contained. That he's a God who's willing to do anything and everything for you. You are the apple of His eye at the end of the day. And God is not somebody who wakes up and chooses that, okay, I can give favor to you and not to you. It's about you stepping out and trusting Him and asking Him and having a conversation with Him. And having a conversation with God even just requires you to have created that atmosphere of intimacy with Him, where you can be completely open and say, okay, God, this is what I really want to achieve. This is what I want to do, and I'm not seeing how I can do it. Could you please open up my eyes to see the opportunities and the potential that is in front of my eyes, and that I cannot see, and show me and lead me in the ways that you want to lead me at the end of the day. And so for me, my takeaway from this whole story is that walk in faith, walk in faith, and trust and believe that God will do what He wants to do with your life.
There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. Oh, there's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. No, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. I couldn't earn it, and I don't deserve it, still you gave yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love.